Hi, how are you doing? My name is Piluso and this is my recording studio and YouTube channel. You are very welcome to be here. Today we're going to be checking out the new ARTURIA ASTROLAB. That is this beautiful keyboard we have here. And the reason why the title says that this keyboard might be an alternative for the famous NORD is because the NORD keyboards, that they are those red keyboards that we normally see on a stage by session musicians or even bandmates, it's because it's a very good keyboard for playing live music, since it allows you to play pianos, electric pianos, organs, synthesizers, and do many more things. It's one of the preferred keyboards for taking all the sounds from your recordings to a live scenario. So the keyboard per se is quite different to the ASTROLAB, but the target audience might be the same and they might be looking for a cheaper option. Even though this one is not that cheap, it's still cheaper than getting a NORD. So basically ARTURIA is a brand that builds amazing synthesizers, analog and digital, and they also do incredible software. The software comes in plugins, and they have an effect collection and they have a V collection that is for virtual instruments. So they used to do emulations of classic synths like the Mini Moog, you have the Prophet, you have the Juno, the Jupiter, and you also get pianos, you get a Rhodes, you get a Wurlitzer, you get a Hammond, and now they're doing different sampled libraries as well. So you have the augmented strings, for instance, and I actually used the V collection almost entirely for my album called Blue, that is from 2021. So if you want to check out the sounds, you can go and check out that album that I'll leave below. It's made almost exclusively with the V collection. So, and also the V collection has another software called Analog Lab. Analog Lab contains thousands of presets made with all of the V collection. So basically this synth is an Analog Lab but in hardware, because if you wanted to do something, if you wanted to use another keyboard that it wasn't the NORD or something like that, you had to use a MIDI controller, which meant you had to take your computer to the stage. So now you can leave your computer at home and you can use, for instance, the ASTROLAB. So that's the reason why it's so good and I like it so much. The way it works is really easy, because I'm going to show you further along the video. It has a playlist mode where you can arrange all of your songs and you have lots of very cool features. And a little funny story is that in 2022 I was very fortunate to go and visit the ARTURIA offices in Grenoble in France, and I got to see this keyboard as a prototype, like a little baby, and I couldn't wait for it to come out. And it was like this huge secret that I was just waiting and waiting and waiting until it came out, and finally I got to meet them again at NAMM and they showed me the final version and I was immediately in love. So in this video I'm going to talk about the quality of construction, I'm going to talk about its connections behind, we're going to check out the interface and what it offers and how it works in the menu and stuff. We're also going to check out the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, very interesting features. We're going to talk about the connection with Analog Lab and how it works with the phone app and with the computer. We're going to listen to the presets I used for the intro of this video, that it was made exclusively with this keyboard. And we're also going to check out how to make your own playlists so you can take your songs to a live scenario. And of course we're going to end up with a pro versus cons, because I'm also going to give suggestions and things that I didn't think were that great. So we're going to have positives and negatives. And of course I'm going to leave affiliate links below in the description that help support the channel. So if you want to check out Sweetwater or Tommen, I get a very small commission, tiny one that doesn't change the price for you, and it helps me carry on doing these wonderful videos and bringing you tutorials. So also, if you like this kind of videos, please consider subscribing. This is a new channel and we put a lot of effort into it. So let's start with the quality of construction. So this keyboard is made of metal. It has a very good feel. It weighs like 15 kilos, so it's very heavy. It has this very beautiful wooden sides. It has the white color from Arturia that we are accustomed from their MIDI controllers and stuff. The only thing that I would say is that I kind of like when they do darker colors, like the Polybrute. I think for my taste, my personal taste, it's what I prefer. But this is still beautiful. The knobs feel really good, the buttons as well. Then we have this wheel for the menu that we're going to check out in a minute. That something I would have liked for it to have is a little button for the enter, because to enter and to select parameters, you have to click on the wheel, which is good, works, but also when you're like in a very rushed scenario, like you're on stage or something, you want to maybe not fiddle around with a wheel. And the quality of the keys feels nice. They are semi-weighted. I would have preferred like electric piano keys, like something that feels like a Wurlitzer or feels like a Rhodes or something more heavyweight, because I think that by the aesthetics of this keyboard, it looks like an electric piano, so it would be really cool if it felt like it. Maybe for a deluxe version, or if they do like an 88 version, they could have that, because I plan to use this alongside with my Polybrute, that is their amazing synthesizer that I also have a video up here. Some of the keys feel sometimes a bit squeaky and noisy. So yeah, I mean, I like that it lights up here when you press a key. So it's quite cool. So the connections on the rear panel, we have USB-C for connecting to your computer. We have a USB port for instance, connecting a pen drive to store all of our sounds. Then we have headphone output, we have left and right main outputs, we have inputs for using the vocoder, for instance. Then we have connections for instance, a sustain pedal or an expression pedal, or we have an aux 1 and 2, and we also have MIDI in and out. Then for the main interface of the keyboard, we have the pitch wheel, we have the mod wheel that feel very nice, they are metal. Then we have octaves up and down. Then we have the center section right here. We have a button that is useful for arpeggiating any kind of sound we have here. We have a chord, we have play, we have rec, and then we have the main section right here in the middle that is really cool. So if we press shift and back, we can go into home and we get types of keyboards that we can choose between bass, keys, lead, pad, piano, electric piano, organ, strings, brass and winds, drums, sequence, vocal, sound effects, and you also have them here. So if we choose any of this, we can just click here and choose any preset of this kind of sounds, which I love. If we go back, then we can choose, for instance, instruments, and we have all the V collection from ARTURIA here, which is really cool. So we have Prophet, Sampler, SEM, Solina, SQ80, Stage 73, Synclavier, Synth, and all the presets from this sounds, which is really nifty. And then if we go back, we then have artists, which they made different preset packs for different artists. So we have, if we go to the A, we have Aha, we have Air, we have Alan Parsons, Aphex, Beatles, Bruno Mars, Cars, Chick Corea, Daft Punk, David Bowie, Depeche Mode. We have all of these presets that are really good, and they sound quite familiar to the original artists and songs. Then we have liked presets, we've got sound banks, playlists, that is what we're going to use to take our songs to a live scenario, which I'm going to talk a little bit more in a minute. And then we have the settings where we can configure the keyboard as we like. So we have USB drive, so the Wi-Fi actually works great for the app of the Analog Lab, and it works to connect with this. That looks like Spotify and allows you to change different presets in one second. So I love that. And you also get Bluetooth that is good for streaming music or anything you want through the keyboard, which will allow you to, for instance, play a song on Spotify and you can play along. Then you have the controls for MIDI in and out and different controls for the pedals and stuff. So now in this part of the keyboard, we have, for instance, a button to select part 1 or part 2 for multi-instruments presets. Then we have split, which we can split our keyboard in two. We have all of the buttons for different sections that also allow us to choose different sections in our songs in the playlist mode. And then we have here 4 knobs that allows us to control parameters from Analog Lab, which we get brightness. That would be like if you're using synths, it works as a cutoff. Then we have timbre that works as resonance in a synthesizer. Time works like an envelope. And movement normally is modulation like an LFO or something like that. And you also get secondary functions underneath that if you press shift, you can access all the secondary features. Then over here we have the effects section that we have 4 different effects. We have effect A and B that we can choose whatever we want. Then we have delay and reverb. We can turn on and off the different effects, which is really cool. And if we want to change the selected effect, we can just long press on any of these buttons. We can choose different effects like multi-filter, parametric EQ, compressor, distortion, chorus, flanger, phaser, stereo pan, analog phaser, wah-wah, an amplifier, rotary speaker. So it's very complete. So now let's talk about the playlists. So the playlists allow you to create different patches for a song so you can take them live. Let me show you how. So for instance, for the song we checked at the beginning. So at the beginning of the video, I played a little song that I created using only this. So if I go into the menu and I go to playlists, I created a new playlist with my name, Louis Piluso. The idea is that you use playlists like the name of the project, like the name of the band. And then you go inside of that playlist and you have all the different songs. So for instance, this song I created for the beginning is called Astrolab as this keyboard. So if I press on Astrolab, then it will light up all of the different sounds that I used for the song. So for instance, I can select the first sound and I have a bass. Or I have my main synth. Then I have my Jupiter. Then I have a piano for making it more dramatical. I also have a sequencer. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the pros and cons. Let's start with the cons, that they are very personal opinions. One of the cons for me is that I normally use the V collection as individual instruments and I don't use that much Analog Lab because I like to tweak my sounds quite a lot. I would have preferred for an option to tweak the individual sounds a bit easier instead of having to do it separately. Then the weight of the keys, as I mentioned before, it would have been really nice to have like electric keyboard keys. Also something I would have liked is for it to have like a little bit more weight on the sound for the output, maybe some transformers or some kind of analog path, or maybe an opportunity to add a bit of drive or saturation would have been really nice. But I understand that this keyboard is made for it to sound exactly like the software. So if you add that, then it stops matching. And also I would have preferred for it to have a bit more controls than this for, because I like to tweak a lot of my sounds, and I maybe would have preferred to edit my sounds from this keyboard instead of using the computer or the app that works really well on the phone. Something I would have liked is maybe having like a specific cutoff filter and a resonance filter and a resonance knob for all the synth sounds. Maybe having a ADSR would have been really nice as well, or an LFO, some kind of controls. I noticed there's a little bit of an empty space here that is probably made for an iPad, but maybe for a deluxe version you could add a couple more knobs. Now we have all the pros. Well, the main pro is actually taking your sounds to a live scenario in a really easy way, because if you use these sounds for your music production, then taking them live without needing a computer, it's a great deal. The integration with the Analog Lab works amazing from your phone, from the computer. It's really well thought out. I love being able to change different sections of the songs just clicking on these buttons, which makes it like really easy without having to scroll through a menu. Being able also to dive into different categories and choosing whatever sound you want and having everything easy is really nice, because sometimes producing music you want to be fast. So if you just want to press on piano and check out different piano sounds and go to electric piano and organ, something like that, it's really easy and fast. And the last thing I want to mention is that the good thing is that you can do an update on the firmware quite often. I guess every time they update the V collection, that's the whole catch. So you can always update your keyboard and have the latest version, which is amazing, and you can always get the new instruments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know below what you thought of it. I'm very interested in sharing that with you. If you are interested in checking it out more in depth, I'll leave affiliate links below so you can go and check everything out. As always, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll leave you other playlists of videos I made. For instance, I have here the video I made of checking out the ARTURIA offices in France, and here I'll leave you a playlist with synths. Until next time, thank you so much for being here and watching until the end of the video. Bye bye.